and welcome to My Credit Sucks, the podcast where we talk about the thing nobody wants to talk about, but everyone needs to hear. What's up, everyone? I'm Rolando Castro, founder of Elite Credit Group, and if you've ever felt judged, confused, or flat out hopeless about your credit, guess what? You're in the right place. Let's get into it. Today's episode is a pretty cool episode. It's a piggyback from last week's episode. Last week, I talked about a book called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And to be honest, the response was something else. A lot of you reached out, send me DMs, text messages, emails, saying that the episode hit you guys a little bit different, that it helped you see your own money story in a new way. So today, we're going deeper because Housel helped us understand why we behave the way we do with money. But there's a guy named Ken Honda. He's a Japanese author, best-selling in Japan for over 20 years, 7 million books sold. And he takes it one step further. So Ken Honda asked a question that sounds simple, but will sit with you for days. Is your money happy? I know. Stick with me. Because by the end of this episode, that question is going to mean something completely different to you than it does right now. The book is called Happy Money, The Japanese Art of Making Peace with Your Money. And it's not about budgets or investing or credit scores or get rich, anything like that. No, it's about the energy you carry around money and how that energy is quietly ruining your entire financial life. It's an amazing book. I read it twice and it completely changed my life and how I see money, the connection, the relationship more than anything that I have with money. So I'm going to get into a few lessons that's going to help you understand this book and hopefully, again, change your relationship, improve your relationship with money. So lesson number 1, happy money versus sad money. Now, Ken Honda starts with this idea that every dollar that moves through your life carries an emotion with it. And he calls it either happy money or sad money. You see, happy money is money that moves with joy, gratitude, and purpose. It's the tip you leave for a server who went above and beyond. It's the payment you made towards something you actually want. It's your first mortgage payment on a new home. See, that money feels good and on both sides, right? Now, sad money is money wrapped in stress, resentment, or fear. It's the bill you pay angry, the paycheck you cash from a job you hate, the debt payment you make while quietly wondering if you'll ever get out. You see, that money feels heavy. Now, here's the part that really gets real. See, most of us have been living in sad money for so long that we don't even notice it anymore. And that was me for a very, very long time. And as my income improved, it just got even sadder. So we're stressed when money comes in because we know it's already spoken for. You see, we're stressed when it goes out because we don't know when more of it is coming. And there's no peace in it, right? And Honda says that emotional energy around money is not just how you feel. It has nothing to do with how you feel, but it's shaping your financial decisions that you make, the avoidance, the impulse spending, the paralysis when you know you should deal with something, but you don't. See, your credit isn't just a number. For a lot of people, it's wrapped in a sad money energy, shame, avoidance, fear. And you cannot fix what you're afraid to look at. Okay, keep that in mind. Lesson number 2, you inherited your money wounds. You see, this is where Ken Honda goes deep and where I think his word connects most powerfully to what I see every single day. He talks about what he calls money wounds, the emotional scars we carry from our earlier experiences with money. And most of the time, we didn't create them ourselves. We inherited them. Maybe you watch your parents fight about the bills every single month. Maybe money in your house was a source of shame. Maybe something you had to hide from other people. Maybe you were told we can't afford that so many times that you stopped believing you ever could. Maybe nobody around you ever owned a home, ever built savings, ever talked about credit like it was something that could actually be managed. You see, those experiences don't just stay in the past, they live in your body. They show up as anxiety when you open a bill, as avoidance when your credit score gets mentioned, as a voice in the back of your head that says, this isn't for people like me. I remember when I was a young kid, I would go to the store with my mom and I would get these cookies. I would put them in the car. And, I just go there with my mom shopping. I would put my cookies in the car. And maybe when I wasn't looking, my mom would take them out. And as she's putting the stuff in the belt to pay, I wouldn't see them there. I just thought, okay, well, maybe my mom bagged them. When we would get home, I would, where are my cookies, Mom? Oh, I'm not buying them. We can't afford them. And I kid you not, this would happen every single time. So when I got my first job and I had a little bit of extra money, I went and bought those cookies. And even now, I buy them. And sometimes I don't even eat them, but I buy them because I could afford them. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. But those cookies, sometimes they sit in my pantry and I look at them and it's just a reminder that I could afford them now. And those cookies, back then they must have been $1, $2. Now they cost about $6, $7. And it's not a lot of money, but it reminds me that my parents said, well, we can't afford them. And, maybe they couldn't. I don't know. But, Honda says healing those wounds isn't just about pretending they didn't happen. It's about seeing them clearly, understanding where they came from. And I know where mine came from. And making a conscious decision that your past does not get to write your future. That's the beauty of it. You see, the practical step, that we need to take is think about your earliest memory of money. What was that feeling attached to? Was it scarcity, stress, shame? Simply identifying it, naming it, it's the first step to releasing it because you cannot heal what you refuse to see. Lesson number 3, arigato in, arigato out. Okay, so this part of the book that sounds a little out there at first, but stay with me, okay, because there's real wisdom here. Now, Ken Honda's core practice is something he calls arigato in, arigato out. Now, arigato means thank you in Japanese, and his teacher was a man named Wahi Takeda, one of the wealthiest and most joyful men Honda ever met. Had a habit of literally saying thank you to money every single time it came in and every single time it went out. Money comes in, arigato. Money goes out, arigato. Now, I'm not asking you to talk to your wallet, even though Ken Honda does tell you to do that. In one of his lessons that I took, you actually had to grab your wallet and say, apologize to your wallet, your credit cards, your money, and just, I'm sorry for mistreating you. I'm sorry for thinking you weren't enough. And it's a bit, I'm a Christian, so I kind of felt a little bit odd doing that, but I wasn't praising money, but I was just fixing my relationship with money. And it was one of the best things I had ever done. So I'm asking you to do that, but here's what the practice is really about. It's about shifting your relationship with money from fear and scarcity to gratitude and flow. You see, most of us feel two things when money comes in. Relief. Whew, I got my paycheck. I feel like I'm not, I'm out of the water. I'm not drowning anymore. And then immediately, anxiety about where it's going. And when it goes out, what happens next? Stress, resentment, sometimes guilt. And I know a lot of you spend money with a bad attitude. And that needs to change. Because when you approach money with gratitude, even for the small things, even for the bill that you can now pay that you maybe couldn't afford before, you start to shift out of scarcity thinking. And scarcity thinking, by the way, is what keeps people stuck. It's what makes someone avoid their credit report for years because they're terrified of what they'll find. So this week, just try it once. When you pay a bill, instead of paying it with resentment, pay it with a quiet, thank you, arigato. Thank you that I have a phone to pay for. Thank you that I have lights to keep on. It sounds very small, but it creates such a big shift in your life. Lesson number 4. Money is energy, and energy follows intention. Now, here's a big idea that runs through the entire book, and this is one that I want to leave you with. Ken Honda says money is energy. Not good or bad on its own. It's neutral, just energy. And like all energy, it responds to how you engage with it. See, people who are constantly in fear about money tend to make decisions from that fear. They avoid, they overspend to numb the stress. They don't open the mail. They don't check the account. They don't call the credit company because every interaction with money feels like a confrontation with everything they're afraid of. See, people who have made peace with money, even if they don't make a lot of it, they make different decisions. They face things. They ask for help. They take the first step even when it's uncomfortable because money isn't the enemy anymore. It's something they're learning to work with. And here's why this matters for your credit specifically. You see, fixing your credit requires you to look at it. And here's why this matters for your credit specifically. You see, fixing your credit requires you to what? Look at it directly without flinching. You have to pull the report, read the numbers, face whatever's there. And if you're carrying years of sad money energy, shame, avoidance, fear, that first step feels almost impossible. But what Ken Honda says, and what I've been seeing in my 16 years of doing this type of work, is the moment you stop running and turn around to face it, something shifts. The fear doesn't disappear, but it gets smaller. And guess what? You get bigger. So you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have a perfect credit score. You just have to be willing to look. But be curious. Look at it with curiosity instead of shame, with intention instead of fear. That's where everything changes, my friend. All right, 2 books, 1 message. So for the last 2 episodes, we've covered 2 very different books from 2 different worlds. The first one, Morgan Housel, he's an American financial writer, tells us that our money behavior makes sense given where we came from. But that behavior can change. Ken Honda, Japanese author and teacher, tells us that our relationship with money carries an emotional energy. And guess what? That energy too can be healed. Together, they're basically saying the same thing from 2 different angles, right? Your financial life is an inside job before it's an outside one. The credit score matters. The payment history matters. The utilization matters. All of that is real. And when we talk about it every single week on this episode, you get better. You see, but none of it changes until something inside of you shifts, until you decide that your past doesn't define your future, until you stop carrying money around like a burden and start engaging it like a tool. And guess what? One that is available to you. Both books, I recommend them. Please read them front to back. Read them twice. The first one is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, Happy Money by Ken Honda. They will change the way you see yourself financially, and that changes everything in your life. Trust me. All right, guys, if anything in today's episode or last week's resonated with you, I want to invite you to take one real step. Book a free credit analysis with my team. We'll pull your credit report. We'll walk you through it with you in plain English. No judgment, no pressure, just clarity on where you are, and we'll create a real roadmap of where you can go. Visit my website at myelitecreditgroup.com or text READY to 323-627-6345. You've been doing the inner work by listening to this. Now let's go ahead and work on the outer work together. All right, guys, that's a wrap on today's episode of My Credit Sucks. If this helped you, please share it. Text it to someone you care about, who you feel needs to hear it. Leave a review if you have a free minute. It genuinely helps more people find the show. Again, I'm Rolando Castro, your credit coach. I'll see you next week. Until then, take one step forward. That's all it takes. Take care.